Good afternoon. My name is Julia Wall. I'm currently the Director of OSR Pre K and the Elementary Curriculum Coordinator for Limestone County Schools. Today we will participate in our OSR First Class Pre K Random Lottery for all 11 Pre K classrooms. The lottery is a random drawing and an equal opportunity for all children to have First Class Pre K in Limestone County School District. This year we have several families who registered for multiple school sites. As a reminder, you could only register for the site that you were zoned to attend for kindergarten. Therefore, you may have been dropped from some sites. When all rosters are filled and if there are slots still open and available, we'll call those families who were dropped after there are no more preschool students on that school's waiting list. When we begin, the first 18 students for each roster will be drawn, and the remaining students will be listed in order on the school's waiting list. If a set of twins are drawn, then they are both automatically on the roster. We're recording the random lottery drawing today and we'll be posting it on our system and school websites and social media Facebook page. The Alabama Department of Early Childhood will send out a state email blast on April 16th through 18th to all registered parents. They'll let you know of your official placement. A parent must email back to us within 7 days your child's first name, last name, and school, and let us know if you accept or decline that placement. If we do not receive written notice within 7 days, a student will be removed from that roster and the next student on the waiting list will be placed on that list. You will be contacted by your lead pre-K teacher later in May of a mandatory parent orientation later in the summer. We've also written for 2 new grants for Blue Springs Elementary and Sugar Creek Elementary. So any student drawn on those waiting lists will go automatically on those new rosters when those are approved by the governor. We will send an email to all families once those new grants are approved. The registration for each school's waiting list will remain open through the 2022-23 school year. So if you didn't get registered, you still have an opportunity. We look forward to a wonderful year in Limestone County Pre-K, and we will begin with Blue Springs Elementary. We'll start with number 1, Blue Springs Elementary, Landon Weeks. Adelaida Morales Rivera. Owen Sneed. Aaron Alday. Turner Stanford. Grayson Beggs. Delilah Prosser. Jaden Robinson. Calvin York. Aislinn Hose. Henry Weir. Jason Hughes. Renly Vasquez. Zora Pouncey. Caleb Finley. Emmett Ham. Brinley Middlebrooks. This is the last one for the roster for Blue Springs. Levi Borden is number 18. We will start with the waiting list. The number 1 on the waiting list is Joni Tanner. Araya Vasquez. Angel Salazar. Maverick Smith. And that completes the Blue Springs roster. All right, next we will do Cedar Hill Elementary School. Cedar Hill has 2 classrooms, so we'll do 1 through 18 for classroom 1, and we'll do 1 through 18 for classroom 2, and then we will draw for their waiting list. Classroom number 1, Cedar Hill Elementary School. Number 1, Nova Sedano. Beckham Turner. Elijah Newman. Denise Yenigan. Sophia Nunley. Bella Ray Turner. Oliver Mignonia. Gunnar Payne. Lila Adrindal. Mateo Gomez. Adeline Smith. Hadley Lorio. Ava Hughes. Lillian Smith. Jessa Lovett. Evelyn King. Mac Barron. This is number 18, will be the last one on the Cedar Hill number 1 roster, Kinsley Neely. This student will be number 1 on Cedar Hill number 2. Number 1, Harlow Montez. Harmony Childress. Oliver Brown. Wyatt Good. Ella Michael Jarrett. Hattie Lee Hurd. Carter Schwartz. Alexandra Sutherland. Willa Carter. Xeria Olivaz. Adeline Ziegler. Macy Barron. Lorelei Jolly. Carmen McFan. Graylin Thigpen. Carter Garnez. Axel Watson. This is number 18 on Cedar Hill number 2 is Mason Reese. This will be number 1 on the Cedar Hill waiting list, Lennon Green. Kimberly Sanchez. Jonathan McRee. Enzo Knowles. Levi Miller. Matthew Ross. Lucas Zavat. Kennedy Williamson. And the last one on the waiting list for Cedar Hill is Langley Newman. the next school will be Creekside Primary. Creekside Primary has 3 first-class pre-K classrooms. All 3 of these classrooms will be transferring to Johnson. That will be the Johnson location. But these will be for Creekside Primary. We'll do Creekside number 1, Creekside number 2, and Creekside number 3, and then we will draw for Creekside's waiting list. Okay? Number 1 for Creekside 1. Number 1, John Gibson. Number 2, Roman Rickaball. Avalon Dossett. Joshua McLaughlin. Cameron Tabor. Hugh Renfro. William Rigsby. Aaron Forbes. Everly Ray. Aliyah Randolph. Hudson Mitchell. J.C. Wales. Avery Dossett. Kamaya Martinez Vitale. Hannah Faye Stewart. Charlotte Mullins. Leela Hickerson. This is number 18 for Creekside number 1, Natalie Fulton. That completes Creekside number 1's roster. We'll start with Creekside number 2, number 1, Josephine Nicholson. Kennedy Reynolds. Hudson Blankenship. Kingston Moore. Zebra, wasn't Kingston a twin?
Yes.
Okay, do you have it noted as a twin?
I don't think it did, but you'll know it's only one.
Okay. All right. Put a T for me for twin.
And they're real sexy. He was holding space.
Okay. Okay. Harper Cross.
Sorry, I didn't do that.
Mila Green. Joshim Baker. Ava Gargarita. Carter Renew. Callie Rowlett. Carter Mears. Aiden Ortiz. Ayla Sanders. Emery Moore. That was the twin. Daxton Wilson. Isabel Poole. Isabella Buss. This is number 18 for Creekside number 2, Rylan Wright. So that completes Creekside number 2's roster. Okay, we'll start with Creekside number 3. Number 1 for Creekside number 3 is Elijah Carmichael. Charlotte Smith. That would be number 1. Ella Grace Lindsay. Stella Taylor. Jaden Smith, Brianna Cook, Oliver Cruz, Remy Westbrook, Barrett Kerr, Anderson Andy Moon, Emery Kashata Walker, Hunter Mitchell, Raylan Cunningham, Aria Taylor, Ryan Bradley, Elena Quillen, Evelyn Fogg. Okay, this is number 18 for Creekside. Number 3 is Bryant Rojas. So that completes Creekside number 3's roster. We will now start drawing for Creekside Primary's waiting list. Number 1 on the waiting list, Chance Andrews, Emma Jones, Theodore Rice, Braden Mason, Riley Watwood, Josiah Reefers, Avery Caraway, Oliver King, Deacon Lyons, Lennon Atkins, Richard Thompson, James Wolfe, Kaylin Campbell, Eli Pippin, Eleni Aguanaga, Adam Curie, Olivia Feud, Alexander Taylor, Juliana Silvar. That's the last of, oh wait, there's one more. And this is the last one on the waiting list, Elena Fort. Okay, well next we will draw for Elkmont Elementary School's Pre-K number 1 and their waiting list. Number 1, Elkmont Elementary School, Kaysen Glover. Lucille Carter, Corbin Wilson, Jael Membrino Andrade, Hunter Davis, Hunter Hull, Jackson Boudreau, Sophia Hatfield, Emilia Mashburn, John Tony, Naomi Ponce Landeverd, Harley Springer, Sawyer Spry, Kendall Buckner, Macy Hobbs, Chloe Brock, Kenan Malone.
Number 18.
This is number 18, the last one on the roster for Elkmont, Madeline Ostrozicki. We'll start the waiting list for Elkmont Elementary School. Number 1 on the waiting list, Elora Blake, Victoria Aldridge, Paisley Burns, Huntley Johnson, Asher Capps, Robert Green. And that's the last one on the waiting list for Elkmont Elementary School. Next, we'll do Johnson Elementary School. Johnson has 1 pre-K. We'll do the roster for Johnson number 1 and the waiting list for Johnson. Number 1 for Johnson, Ruby Putman, Joel Rios, Raziel Fletcher, Elena Smith, Siran Miller, Meredith Cobb, Talia Payne, Ella Todd, Jamari Stevenson, Eleanor King, Waylon Griffin, Nova Nye, Alexander Wadarama Avalar, Brandon Para, Jonathan Thomas, Aiden Escobar, Cameron Tabor. Number 18 for Elkmont Elementary School, the last on their roster is Alexi Malone, number 18. This student will be the first on Elkmont's waiting list. Yep, Johnson. She said, yep, Johnson. Mateo Gomez will be the first one on the waiting list for Johnson. Drake Woodfin and Matias Navarro. So those last 3 were on the waiting list for Johnson Elementary School. The next school we'll be drawing for is Piney Chapel Elementary School. We'll do the roster for Piney. Number 1, David Castro Ventura, Elasan Vair, Isaiah Christian, Camden Gatlin, Jimmy Cole Cothran, Allison Miller, Oakley McCluskey, Hudson Shaddles, Colby Duggar, Austin Smalley, Emma Ridgway, Adrian Wilson, Neva Malone. That's all of Piney. Okay, the next school we'll be drawing for is Sugar Creek Elementary School. Sugar Creek has one pre-K. We will draw for the first class number 1 for Sugar Creek and then do the waiting list. Okay. Number 1, Emily McElroy. Number 2, Hudson Gervais. Number 3, Raylan Westmoreland. Gunnar Griffin. Landon Knox. Cade Blankenship. Julia Morse. William Jones. Jameson Willoughby. Amari Reese. Caden Tarpley. Jackson McCammon. McKenna Brill. Oakley Sylvester. Ava Benston. Zaya Clemens. Berkeley Hill. Leo Hardy. Okay, this is number 18 on the roster. Okay, call out what was number 18.
Leo Hardy was number 18.
Leo Hardy was number 18 for Sugar Creek Elementary School. Leo Hardy was number 18 for Sugar Creek Elementary School. Number 1 on the waiting list for Sugar Creek is Gideon Jones. Hensley Holt. Hensley McGuire. Lincoln Scroggins. Colton Kennedy. Landon Parsons. William Reinhardt. One more. And the last one on the waiting list for Sugar Creek is Creedon Spoon. Okay, our last pre-K will be Tanner Elementary. They have one pre-K, and we'll do Tanner's roster and then their waiting list. Okay. Number 1 for Tanner Elementary School, Kamari Ratliff. Kamisi Aya Sanchez. Erilyn Harper. Jackson Holland. Jasper Malone. Alaric Davis. Adeline Priest. Melissa Ramirez Solis. Robert Nichols. Leah Galvin Jimenez. Kalia Clanton. Coralie Malone. Ellie Reynolds. Jason Johnson. Micah Haney. Wyatt Edmondson. Colton Dempsey.
Number 18.
Number 18 is Daxton Wilson. Number 18 is Daxton Wilson. So number 1,
One more.
one more. There's one on Tanner's waiting list, Charlie Gray. And that completes our first class pre-K random lottery.